Hi, and welcome to yet another series of lessons in my Classic Licks series. And this lesson is about the playing of a guitar player who I think a lot of people have never heard of before. His name is Goree Carter. I think that's how you pronounce it, Goree Carter, G-O-R-E-E Carter. And he was a Texas blues player, and very similar, his playing is very similar to that of T-Bone Walker. I think he was influenced by T-Bone Walker instead of the other way around. But instead of just playing T-Bone's licks, he has his own way of doing it. And there's some really cool ideas that you can find in listening to his stuff. A lot of these songs that I'm going to mention are lesser known blues songs, and I didn't even know about them until recently. A friend of mine made me a couple CDs of his playing, and I realized what a great player he was. And I'm going to show you some ideas from his playing. I'm going to show you some introductions, show you some single string lines, and anything I can think of to include in this lesson I'll throw at you. But I highly recommend you listen to Goree Carter and listen to some of his tunes. Let's start out with just talk about his approach. We'll do this similar to the way I did the Willie Johnson videos. Rather than go through and note for note teach you all these different licks, I'll sort of explain how he's doing it or where he's doing it. I'll show you some of his signature licks, and I'll show you a few examples of his single string runs and solo ideas. And then I'll have some tablature available. Crudely written, but fairly accurate tablature that you can use if you want to explore this in more detail. So let's start out. We're going to use the key of B flat as our home key here. We'll use G a little bit, C some too, but B flat is where a lot of Goree Carter's tunes were located. Starting out, his vocabulary of licks, some of his general licks that he used are very similar, if not exactly the same as those used by T-Bone Walker. So let's go through and talk about some of those. The first one is what I call a hop, which a lot of people will play by putting their first finger on the 6th fret of the 2nd string and then using their 2nd and 3rd fingers to bend up on the 3rd string at the 7th and 8th frets. So I'm bending up and then getting the 2nd string, which I'm holding still. Now on the T-Bone Walker video, I showed you that I thought with the heavier guitar strings that they used back in the 40s that maybe he was sliding this. And it could be a little bit of both, bending or doing the slide. When I do the slide, I'm taking my ring finger from the 8th fret of the 3rd string and sliding it to the 10th fret, and then still getting the 2nd string at the 6th fret. You can do it that way. As I listen to Goree Carter, I think he's doing more of the bend. Like that. That's in B flat. You can move that anywhere. When he plays in G, plays in C, and that is a lick that you will use a lot and will hear a lot in Goree Carter's playing. And that's a T-Bone Walker type lick. Another one that you hear a lot is a similar lick, where he's bending the G string, but then getting the 1st string at the 6th fret. So in B flat, we're going like that. So we're bending up with those 2 fingers on the 7th and 8th frets of the 3rd string, and then getting the 1st string at the 6th fret. And that's another lick that you'll hear Goree Carter use quite a bit, and that you can also move around the neck wherever you're playing. The third lick is a double stop, this one. And you'll hear that one a ton. Now, T-Bone Walker, when he plays it, a lot of times it sounds like he's playing the full chord, which is a diminished chord. So here I am in B flat, and I've got my 1st finger on the B flat note, which is at the 8th fret of the 4th string. I've got my 2nd finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Got my pinky on the 9th fret of the 1st string. And I've got my ring finger on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. Now you do hear Goree Carter use that lick, but a lot of times he'll just do it with the 2 fingers, with my pinky on the 9th fret of the 1st string, and then ring finger on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. And then my first finger is going to anchor at the B flat on the first string, 6th fret, and the second string also 6th fret. And you'll hear Goree Carter use all those licks. So all of those licks are included in his vocabulary. Another one that I'll throw in here is a kind of a double stop type thing that you'll hear him use a lot. And he'll, unlike T-Bone Walker would play something like this. But you wouldn't hear too much of stuff like this. And Goree Carter will take those single note things, especially on the second and third strings, and double stop. And that is something that is kind of cool, that he'll mix in. So you could play this. Which is unique. And I can't tell if he's bending just slightly, or if he's going from one fret, from the 9th fret to the 8th fret. You can listen to the recordings and see what you can come up with. So that's another Goree Carter idea, the double stop. Sometimes he'll do them on the first and second string, something like this. What I'm doing there is taking that first double stop, the T-Bone Walker type thing, and then I'm going to walk from the 8th fret, first and second string, to the 6th fret, like that. And then second and third strings at the 9th fret, 8th fret, 6th fret. That kind of thing. So those are all some of the, what I would call the signature Goree Carter type licks that he uses quite a bit. Now in between, he does a lot of stuff with single strings. And I'll show you just some ideas that, again, I'll have these tabbed out and you can go through and learn them and get a feel for how he plays. The best thing to do is just listen to his recordings. One thing he liked to do is this, what's another T-Bone Walker type lick, something like this in B flat. Where I'm going from the 9th fret of the first string to the 6th fret of the first string, and then the 6th fret of the second string. Sometimes he'll keep it on the 9th fret. That's Pee Wee Crayton, also T-Bone Walker type of thing. And back into one of his licks. A lot of his tunes feature these single string runs that he does a little differently. T-Bone Walker, a lot of times you'll hear this. Goree Carter plays a little more fluidly. A little differently if you compare the two styles, but the same idea. He's playing in the first position blues box, and he does a variety of runs with single string runs. One that I like a lot is he does something like this. Something like that. Or he's using the 7th or the 8th fret of the first string. He'll also throw in some hammer-on pull-offs, something like this. And a lot of Goree Carter's playing, he's using the G bend. A lot like T-Bone Walker and other players. Another thing he does is sometimes he'll throw in throw in this note. So it's in the B flat. He'll slide to the 9th fret of the 3rd string instead of just playing on the 6th and 8th frets. There you go. Those are a lot of different Goree Carter ideas, and again, I'll have some specific licks written out for you that you can check out. But for the most part, he plays in that first position blues box. But I'll show you some licks and some fancier stuff that he does here in a few minutes where he goes beyond that first position blues box. So that's the first introduction to Goree Carter's playing. Some of the signature licks that he used and the concept behind it, playing in the first position blues box. Now, of course, he did a lot more than that, but that is just the beginning. I will come back with another lesson and we'll talk about his chords, we'll talk about some of his fancier licks, introductions. I'll show you introductions to some of his tunes that feature some really cool ideas, and we'll do a lot more. Be back in a little bit.